What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical, average American here today to react and learn about things that only Canadians can understand. So today, I want to take a look at this Reddit discussion where somebody asked, what's something you can only truly understand after spending most of your life in Canada? And I thought this would be a very fun question to take a look at, and some of the responses that Canadians have to this question, and just see if my American brain can possibly comprehend these Canadian experiences, these things that only Canadians can really understand. So let's take a look. Starting with things only Canadians can understand, how 10 degrees Celsius in the fall is freezing. But 10 degrees Celsius in February is t-shirt and shorts weather. I don't get it. How does this make any sense? It's the same temperature. Now, I have to address the elephant in the room here. What is 10 degrees Celsius? What is that? Okay, let me pull up a calculator here or something. Nope. Okay, here we go. Celsius, 10. 50. Oh, 50. Oh, why didn't you just say so? 50. 50 Fahrenheit is 10 degrees Celsius. Oh, in the fall, that is cold. But in February, it's t-shirt and shorts weather? Is that because, like, you're sick of winter and, like, 10 degrees is, like, like, feels like heaven? and so when 10 degrees Celsius is first coming, it's really cold because it's like after the warm weather and now it's getting down to 10. And let's be clear here, 10 degrees that's the perfect temperature to use. 50 Fahrenheit, because that's right in between warm and cold, really. It's cold, don't get me wrong. No, that is cold. Like, okay, I can just get lost thinking about this. When I came to Canada in 2001 from Texas, I wore double layers for years. Now April is when I'm rocking a t-shirt and shorts because it's spring. It doesn't, basically in Canada, it doesn't matter what the temperature is. If winter is supposed to be over, you just bust out the shorts and t-shirt out of principle, basically. I'm also discovering that the metric system is loads easier. Okay, no, we don't got to get into that. Okay, no, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear about how great the metric system is. I want to use inches, feet, yards, Fahrenheit. I refuse to change. No, actually, I mean, objectively, the metric system is better. Okay, you got it out of me. What are some other things that only Canadians will understand? Barbecuing your dinner in the yard in just a t-shirt and shorts while standing next to a 6-foot snow pile. I don't understand that. Is it just out of principle? Because I've seen, like, memes, Canadian memes and other, like, video. Like, it's true. This isn't a joke. There's Canadians out there who legitimately have shorts or a t-shirt or both in the dead of winter when it's snowing. And according to this, you're even out barbecuing. That actually sounds kind of nice, but not in the freezing cold. Is this just out of principle? Or as a Canadian, do you just build up? Do you acclimate to the cold weather and it doesn't even affect you at a certain point? Is that more what it is? We were asked about Canada. What you described is heaven. Barbecuing your dinner next to the snow in shorts and a t-shirt is heaven? Really? Okay. Okay. Let's go down to the next one here. Some more things that only Canadians can understand. This has lived up to the topic. I don't understand. I don't understand. I kind of understood the first one with the 10 degrees Celsius. That can feel cold or hot. depending on the time of year. I get that, but barbecuing in the winter in t-shirts, I don't know. It's not a long drive unless you have to overnight somewhere before you reach your destination. Okay, it's not technically a long drive in your car unless you have to stay in a hotel. That's what makes it long. So does that technically mean anything like under 24 hours? Because you could drive for like a day straight until you just collapse. Basically, this is saying how big Canada is, which, as an American, I can relate to this. This one in particular. America is pretty huge as well, especially east to west in Canada. So Canadians, basically, Canadians have the definition of a road trip. Really, it's not a long drive unless you're staying in a hotel. Like, whereas in other countries around the world, like in the UK or, I don't know, like Germany or whatever, the whole you could drive across the entire country in a day. Like, you can't do that in America and Canada. So we can kind of relate about that, actually. I get that one. It's, what else? What else? Dry cold. dry, dry cold. What is that? That's a good one. This is something only Canadians understand. I've heard this phrase before. Oh, it's a really dry cold. It's like, what is that? Can I Google this? Yeah, you can actually. Dry cold weather is a type of weather that is common in winter, is characterized by very little humidity in the air, and it can feel warmer than cold and humid at the same temperature. What? Just sounds crazy. So there's not a lot of moisture in the air. So it's like, okay, it's like super dry and cold, and I feel clammy just thinking about it. It's not the heat, it's the humidity. Okay, thanks, Dad. Okay, yeah. I can't ever say I've ever used the phrase dry cold or really experienced dry cold. It's an interesting concept. The Google kind of helped me visualize it. More things only Canadians can understand. Canadian Tire money. I learned about this in a video I did a while ago. This is like fake money that Canadian Tire gives you. It has its own Wikipedia page. It has its own Wikipedia. Are you kidding me? Is this that well known? It's funny that it actually looks like money. Like, funny enough. Oh, yeah, there's the picture. Yeah, so when do you get this? It's like reward or something? It's a loyalty program. Okay. Can- Canadian Tire money. I can't say there's anything like that in America. Nothing. And most Americans have never heard of this, or Canadian Tire for that matter. Um, Definitely not me at 5 years old fanning myself with wads of Canadian Tire money, worth about $3.78. I miss those days. You felt like a millionaire. So, kids, sometimes when you're a kid, you get your hands on Canadian Tire money, you feel like a real baller, like a rich, fanning yourself with it. That's funny. Okay, let's scroll down here to the next one. What are some things only Canadians can understand? There are many places you can go and be away from any signs of civilization for miles and miles around. Really? That's a. I've never really lived in an area where that was true. Is this more true in Canada than the United States? I don't know. The United States has such a big population. There's really people everywhere. There's some states that have a very, very low population, though. And in those states, you could probably get away from civilization. But is this more true in Canada? There's many places where you can just be absolutely alone for miles. Really? Because 80% of Canadians live within 100 miles of the southern border. Right, so. Oh, yeah, it's way more true in Canada. Yeah, if you're counting all of Canada, which I don't know why you wouldn't. All of northern Canada is basically empty. Yeah, you could be like hundreds of miles around with nobody, right? Oh my gosh, yeah, Canada wins that one for sure. The difference between a damp cold and a dry cold and how wind chill matters. I don't know. I don't understand all this stuff. This is you got to grow up in like the Canadian winter to start talking about damp cold and dry cold and clammy cold and withery cold and all these different types of cold. I just know cold. It's cold out. I'm going inside. that's that's what I live by. How wind chill matters. Yeah, I know about wind chill. Okay. House hippos. Oh my god. Yeah. It's funny because now when for a lot of Canadian videos that I do, house hippos come up a lot. So I'm like the one American that really knows about house hippos. I really do. Oh yes. They're very real. If you said this word to Americans, most Americans, they'd just stare at you and be like, okay. Okay, and just think Canadians are weird forever. In the summer, you will forget about how cold it is in the winter. And in the winter, you will forget about mosquitoes. Oh, yeah, that's true. It's starting to, like, the temperature is starting to drop. Let's be honest here. Let's come to terms with this. The temperature is starting to drop. We had summer. It was good. It was a good run. And I think a lot of Canadians, this is probably more troubling to you. Winter is coming. Winter is coming. At least the mosquitoes will be gone. That's true. In the summer, you forget about how cold the winter is? I don't know. You don't... In America, you don't think about the winter that much. Like, we have especially last year, we had a very, very mild winter. There was no snow. Like, it was easy. So I don't really think about the winter. I think Canadians have it worse and think about it more. That's true. Things only Canadians understand: Quebec French and Newfoundland English. Well, not all Canadians understand French or Quebec French. That's just French Canadians, really, right? Or do you learn about this in school? Do you have to learn French in school growing up in Canada? I'm sure you have to learn some. Newfoundland English? I've heard it's very out there. It's different than the rest of Canada. This is very funny to me because, like, I don't know, there's states in America where you're like, oh, they talk different. Like, I don't know, maybe the American South, like Mississippi or something. But nothing like what I've heard about Newfoundland. That seems to be like a lot of Canadians are like, Canadian accent, sure, but Newfoundland English, you gotta hear that. How do you make a Canadian say, I'm sorry? Step on his foot. Oh my God. Right? I get this one. I'm actually proud I've understood quite a few of the Canadian references here today. This is good. This is a very Canadian thing. Most Americans would not understand this. I can't really relate to this myself, although I get it, I think. Canadians will say, you'll say you're sorry, even if your foot is stepped on, even if you are wronged, because you have a different usage of sorry. You use it much more freely. You use it kind of to say, hey, I'm acknowledging that you bumped into me, and that's okay. It has like this whole different meaning. Instead of like, oh, sorry, and then the other person, or sorry, sorry, and then the other person says, oh, sorry, and then go about your business. And it's kind of a wonderful, nice little experience, it sounds like. This would never happen in America. Like, someone stepped on my foot, I'd be like, ow, geez. I'm not trying to be mean or rude. That's just like the normal response in America. Like, oh, or whoops, or something. And then it's really up to the other person to say, oh, sorry, excuse me, my bad. And then I'd be like, oh, not a problem. My toe is throbbing, and we have bad healthcare coverage, but it's okay. I was in a store in Canada in my own world. Accidentally bumped into a guy. We both whirled around and grasped each other's arms, and he apologized profusely at the same time. The Canadian waltz. How much work it takes to make maple syrup? This is something only Canadians understand, because I'm not too familiar with the maple syrup process. I think I've learned a little about it. You get it from trees and, like, distill it? Or something? The Tragically Hip. I did a video on them a while back. They are severely underrated in America. I had no idea how important and big and impactful they were and are in Canada. The Tragically Hip, that does belong on this list. Things only Canadians can understand, because there's a whole Tragically Hip subculture in Canada that I dived into a little bit. Yes, that's absolutely. Considering we live right next to the USA, and we are their closest ally, and the most like them culturally, we have freedom from gun violence and gun culture. That is true. I don't hear that much about gun violence in Canada. I do like to look at the Canadian news every week, and there is criminal acts and violence in Canada, I've been shocked to learn, but not too much in the way of gun violence or gun culture. Now that you specifically, that is very true. That is a very American thing. And it's very bad. I don't know. I'm mixed on American gun law. As an American growing up in America, I like that we have the freedom to have it for for protection. That's an very American ideal, but it's far too easy to get a gun. You don't need to take any kind of exam or test or certification, really, or prove that you're mentally fit and equipped to handle the responsibility of a gun. That's my biggest criticism, for sure. So the fact that Canada seems to have figured it out a little better. I don't know the specific laws around guns in Canada, but it certainly doesn't seem to be a big issue like it is in America. Yeah. Well, anyway, I think with that, that's a pretty good place to stop. This is a lot of fun. These things that only you Canadians really understand. I think I'm proud to say I understood this a bit. I was able to kind of reason my way through it, figure it out. It was kind of fun to get a peek behind the curtain of Canadian culture. Some of the stuff I didn't understand, that's okay, but this is pretty cool to hear about. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment with your thoughts on things only Canadians understand. Or if you could clarify any of the stuff I didn't understand here, that'd be wonderful as well. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Canada and learning about Canadian culture, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.